Former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich has surged to a lead nationally in our inaugural Gallup daily tracking of the Republican nomination contest. Gingrich has 37% of the Republican vote nationally. These are registered voters. His next closest competitor is Mitt Romney at 22%, so that's a 15-point margin. And as you see there in front of you, all the other candidates that we included are down in single digits. This race has really been topsy-turvy. As you know, if you've been following it, we've had various people who've gone to the top of the polls during this year. In fact, if you go back, we had people like Sarah Palin and others who were doing well in the polling. Clearly, we had Rick Perry, who surged for a while, and then Herman Cain, who did well. Now it is Speaker Newt Gingrich's time as he's moved to the top of the league. Now, this is perhaps worth noting a couple of things that make this a little different. One is we're, of course, closer to Iowa. January 3rd is when the first actual votes will be taken. That's the Iowa caucuses, so it may matter more now than it did last August. And second, that 37% point margin or vote for Newt Gingrich at this point is the highest we've seen for any single candidate all year long. So let's look at some demographic breakouts here. Age is an interesting one. Gingrich is not, although he's well into his 60s, the oldest candidate in the race. That would be Ron Paul, the congressman from Texas, who's born in 1935. You do the math to figure out how old he is. 76, I might tell you. His birthday's in August. But Gingrich does very well with older voters. Look at the skew there. When you move down to young voters, actually, it's Ron Paul, the older candidate, who does well. And we've noted this before, has a real skew towards older voters, and those are the voters who've changed their mind a lot this year, and now they're moving towards Newt Gingrich. There's no question that Gingrich does well among Tea Party supporters, among Republicans, and also better among conservative Republicans, so he is their choice. That is the right wing of the Republican Party's choice at the moment. This could be important because these individuals may be more likely to turn out and vote in the early primary and caucus states. They have the enthusiasm usually in our polling, so that's worth noting. Regionally, of course, Newt Gingrich is a former congressperson from the state of Georgia. Perhaps not surprising that he does better in the South, but that too is important because two of the critical primaries this January are going to be in South Carolina and then Florida after we get past Iowa and New Hampshire. And Gingrich from the South, doing well among Southern voters, may do well in those two primaries, and those are going to be critical in helping establish early momentum for one candidate or the other. A word of caution here, when we look back at the late 2007 polling, that would be in November and December, we found John McCain way down the list. It was Rudy Giuliani who was leading, kind of like Newt Gingrich is leading now. Of course, you know what happened. Giuliani collapsed, and John McCain rose to get the Republican nomination. So things can change. Leading now is by no means a certainty that that person's going to be the nominee, but at the moment, our inaugural Gallup poll tracking poll shows Gingrich has surged to the lead over Mitt Romney by 15 points. Check it out here at Gallup.com every single day at 1 o'clock because we'll have an updated number for you on how Republicans nationally are feeling about their party's potential nominee. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.